Hi, singers. If you're new, I'm Camille here with 30 Day Singer. This is a topic I'm excited to talk to you about. We are talking about how to find your unique sound. I have five main points, and then we're going to dive into each. But let me tell you what those main points are so you know what's coming. The first step in finding your unique sound is accessing your full vocal range. There are many singers who think that they've reached the limit of what their voice can do, and they're nowhere near it. The second step is to prioritize relaxation over tone. I know that when you're concerned about finding your unique sound and style, you really care about what you sound like. That's to be expected. However, sometimes that gets in our way. We limit ourselves. We will only accept certain sounds coming out of our voices, and we stop ourselves from discovering other sounds. So, prioritize relaxation over tone. The third step is to sing a folk song or a lullaby or songs that you don't have a particular artist version in mind when you're singing it. Oftentimes, we are learning, let's say, an Ariana Grande song, and we just end up imitating Ariana Grande because that's what's in our ear. That's how we learned the song. So sometimes a way to break out of the box of whatever artists you're used to listening to is just by singing a little song from your childhood, a lullaby, something that you know the melody, but you're not thinking of how any specific artist performs that. The first step is to borrow and steal from other artists. There is no shame in that, and it is how all of us learn. So, if you're a beginning singer and you feel, uh, if you're stopping yourself from copying other artists, don't copy other artists. See what is a good fit for you. I promise you, your favorite singers grew up copying their favorite artists. And then, fifth step is give yourself time to evolve. I want to caution you against anyone who would tell you, hey, I can help you find your voice in one day, or I can help you find your voice with this one exercise. Sure, you could get closer, but no artist is developed in a single day. Um, Maybe you can have a light bulb moment, but artists develop over time. So give yourself that time. There's no rush. All right. So rewinding, hello, Nick and Kavisha and Ananaya. Great to have you guys here. And Cal, you are welcome to ask questions as we go. Just know that my focus will be our topic until the last 15 minutes. The last 15 minutes are entirely yours for Q&A. But if there's, confusion or questions that just can't wait as we go along, please, uh, you know, chime in. Hi, Caddy. All right. So, first, accessing your full vocal range. I was just working with a new singer yesterday, and I was getting them to vocalize throughout their range. This was a lower voiced singer, and he was convinced that his voice stopped at E flat 4. That note right there. And in reality, that's where his chest voice or speaking voice stopped, but that is not where his singing voice stopped. So the first step for you, if you're a brand new singer, and particularly if you are a low voiced or a louder singer, is accessing what we'd call your head voice or your falsetto. And the easiest way to do that is to just give me an excited woohoo sound and compare the difference in feeling, in sensation of that sound, woohoo, with the chesty, heavy, speaking voicey type sound you normally sing with. So maybe you're going, there goes my heart beating. And as you take that sound up higher, you reach a ceiling because your chest voice is not limitless. Anyways, if that's you, if any of that sounds familiar, I want to give you a few steps. So, first step is just accessing that other way of making sound. Some people call this a register or a function. All it means is that your vocal folds or vocal cords are functioning in a slightly different way. And there's also a different sound that results. So, anytime we're talking about a register of the voice, that's what we mean. Functionally, something distinct is going on, and then there's usually a distinct sound that results. So, head voice falsetto, first step, just access it and use the sound that is easiest for you. I don't care what you should be using or what, this voice coach tells you to use. Use what works for your voice. I always recommend the excited woohoo or an owl hoot sound, hoo hoo, or a cuckoo clock sound, cuckoo cuckoo, because those tend to work for the majority of students. But try other sounds. If a cat meowing works for you, or an e sound going wee, use it. It's not a defect or a problem if you can't make that owl hoot sound or anyways, use what works for you is the moral of the story. So first access both your chest or speaking voice register and then that higher, lighter, floaty head voice or falsetto function. Um, Usually it's easiest for people, particularly when head voice is unfamiliar, it's easiest to start in head voice and jump down into chest voice. So that's what I did with a student yesterday. The reason for that is when you're in chest voice or speaking voice mode, it's kind of hard to get out of it. You kind of get stuck there. So better, easier to, let's say, do an exercise like this where we're going woo-hoo, hey. And we're just dropping one octave. So those pitches, almost everyone should be able to sing in that range, by the way. A4, woo-hoo, that's in head voice. And then we're dropping to A3, hey. Very low voices will make the mistake of dropping 2 octaves. So if you think that might be you, if you're going woo-hoo and then singing that low, I want you to use a chromatic tuner. The easiest one to start with would be tuner.ninja because you don't have to download anything for it. Here you go in the chat for you. So again, you're just dropping one octave. Woohoo, hey. And you're feeling the difference between that head or falsetto function and then that chest or speaking voice function. Second step, and we're going to go through these quickly because we have more to cover. Second step would be switching between those registers. Bottom to top and back again. So once you can go, hoo, hey, try going in the opposite direction. Hey, hoo. Again, that's harder for a lot of people to do because you kind of get stuck in chest voice mode. It's just where your voice is used to being. But if you can do that, hey, hoo, hey, the next step would be starting to add some notes in between or slide between the two. So an exercise to try would be on or ooh, and see if you can slide between chest voice and head voice range using a vowel that helps you do that. You could just slide on an ooh the whole time. You could go ooh, or you could do a pattern like coo, 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 coo. However, I find with some singers that doesn't work because they will still try to stay in chest voice. They'll go like this. They'll go coo 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 and they won't let it lighten. Coo 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 coo. It's also an issue if you are never finding chest voice, if you're staying in head voice the whole time and you're going coo 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 coo. Okay. So for that reason, I kind of prefer exercises that go at least at the start a little heavier and wider in chest voice like ah or ooh, ah. And then again, you're trying to slide between the two. Ooh, ah. Okay, question from Tali. Is it safe to remain in one's authentic range and stay there? Ooh, or is it cowardly? That's a good question. Um, so the question is, what is your authentic range? If you're talking about your range day 1, you've not done any vocal training, um cowardly. Uh, if that's what you mean by authentic, meaning untrained, unexplored, I would not use the word cowardly. I would just say you're limiting yourself. You're not using all of the pitches that your voice is capable of producing. Without training or before training, where most people are comfortable is in their speaking voice. And that's just inherently a limited range. So, the reason for range extension, for accessing that higher, lighter register, is so that you're not limited in the songs that you want to sing. If all you have to rely on is a limited chest voice range, then the songs that you can sing, you're just gonna be more limited, and to me, that's not a good feeling, it's frustrating. I was there myself, before I got comfortable singing in head voice and developing mix. I was also just always trying to stay in my chest voice, and what I did was I would just move the key, I would transpose songs so that they would be lower. But that was limiting because some songs, the range of the melody is too wide to do that. So once you've moved a key to a certain point and you're like, "Ooh, I can't sing any lower. Maybe I just can't sing this song." That's what I'm trying to help you avoid. Um, However, if you're asking, no, I have done some singing, I've explored my range, but I find that my voice is most comfortable and most beautiful in kind of a narrower range, then I would say use that. That is 100% fine. Um, and there are plenty of artists who I think do that. Not every artist out there is using every single note that they can access in the songs that they sing. Um, I think it's a balance. It's a balance of not uh yeah, not limiting yourself right off the bat just because it doesn't feel natural or doesn't come quite as easily. Um, and insert name here is saying, but to be serious for a moment, most of the singing barriers are psychological. Our ranges are much wider than we think. I agree 100%. Um, and Miki was asking, is it true that singing nasal helps singing higher? It can. It certainly can. One of my favorite exercises for high head voice, once I start to feel a little bit unstable on a vowel, is switching to an NG sound. And that's entirely nasal. It's nothing but nasal resonance. If you plug your nose, the sound goes away. So yes, for sure. And you'll hear artists like Taylor Swift is actually a good example. Her higher notes tend to be a little bit nasal. She's not super full or heavy on her highest pitches. So yes, it definitely can help. Um, okay, so this was step one. I'm almost done with step one, accessing your full vocal range. Okay, once you are going from chest voice to head voice and back again, you can start doing exercises that encourage more of a balance. So you're not just switching, you're starting to find this middle ground. Probably one of the easiest quick fix exercises to do that for you is to stick out your tongue on a ma and slide from low to high. Ma. I know it's not a beautiful sound. It might even be perceived as nasal, but that's a really good exercise right off the bat for you to start feeling that there is a middle way for those middle pitches. That it's not just your two options are not just chest voice and head voice. You can sing with a bit of a balance or blend of the two. So again, that exercise, you're sticking out your tongue, you're saying ma, and you're sliding low to high. Ma. Okay. Anyways, last step for that would be, diving a little bit deeper into mix exercises, vowel modifications that will encourage mix. Okay, my second step is prioritizing relaxation over tone, but I'm going to answer a few questions first. NGC asked, is it a bad thing if we lower a song's original key? No, not a bad thing at all. Please choose the key that's most comfortable for your voice. Um, if I were singing, for example, Easy on Me by Adele, I would probably put it down like a step for my voice. Um, I am working with another singer who we moved it up a step. It's originally in the key of F. There ain't no gold. Okay, and this singer was more comfortable a step higher. There ain't no gold. Okay, so yes, absolutely pick the key that is comfy for your voice. There is no reason to just kill yourself trying to sing it in a key that isn't best for you. I will always say, probably till the day I die, the original singer of that song chose the key for their voice. You can choose a key for your voice. That is 100% your prerogative. The only time that's an issue is when you're at a karaoke bar and they don't have different options of keys. So keep that in mind. Um, Also, keep in mind if, say, you're auditioning for a musical, it's often not an option to change the key in a musical because it's the entire score, everything has to work together, transitions from song to song. So, unfortunately, if you're like, okay, I'm gonna audition for Elphaba, but I'm gonna put Defying Gravity in a lower key. That's not gonna work because you need to actually sing the pitches as written. But in almost any other circumstance, like you're in charge of the key, you can search for a karaoke track that's higher or lower, depending on your comfort. Anyways, um, and Tolly was asking before we get to our second step, I have a performance soon. I'm already super nervous as I've never sang in front of anyone except myself, and I still have issues knowing my own real voice. Any tips? Yeah, so the tip right after that, performing in front of a few other people or videoing yourself, I would say first step, video yourself and watch it. That's a great piece of advice. There's a teacher named Becky Gillespie, and she kind of specializes in singing for the self-conscious, and she wrote a book. This is uh, not a paid promotion. I just think I think you would maybe benefit from this. So this is the book that she wrote, Singing for the Self-Conscious, and if you look her up, the author, Becky Gillespie, but if you just go to that Amazon link, you'll see her and see what she has online. I wrote an article as well. Let me find it for you. So this article that I wrote talks about kind of working from the inside out and the outside in. There you go. So give that a read. And I think, oh, here's another little short video as well that might help you. Um, okay. Blue stand in the background. Oh, that's a dish rack if that's what you're talking about. Okay, second tip, prioritize relaxation over tone. By tone, I mean the quality of the sound. Sometimes we use words like bright. So a bright tone would be something like hey versus a dark tone. Hey. Um, so sometimes we use specific words like that, but tone just means the quality of the sound. When we're overly focused on sounding good, we often limit ourselves. Sometimes we're holding unnecessary tension because we're afraid of sounding bad. And that tension that we hold ends up making us sound worse. So, a little bit of a catch 22 there. Singing that feels relaxed and free usually sounds good too. So, if you feel relaxed as you're singing, that's a good sign. It's kind of a win-win. Um, so a few things. There's more than one way to sing a pitch. So again, find the vowel or the syllable that works best for you. If you find that you are tensing or straining at a specific spot in a song, for example, first step is always drop the lyrics. Try singing on something like ya or ma. Um, Play around, just try random syllables, and if you find one that works better for you, that gets you the tone you're looking for or gets you to just relax, sing on that for a while before you go back to the lyrics. Identify areas in your body that feel physically tense or strained. And usually the advice is to move those muscles or remove them from the equation. So, a great example would be tongue tension. A lot of singers don't feel tongue tension because it's so subtle and we're just not aware of the tongue in the same way that we're aware of our jaw, aware of our shoulders. But but say you feel tension in the base of your tongue, or you feel like your tongue is constantly, let's say, retracting when you sing. You're going, ah, and your tongue is pulling back and doing weird things to the tone. Then removing the tongue from the equation would look like sticking the tongue out, and maybe singing, ma, 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 ma. Then put the tongue back where it was, but keep that same feeling of softness and relaxation. So once you've sung ma 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 ma, let me put the tongue back in the mouth. Ma 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 ma. And now my tongue isn't doing that weird retraction thing. Another example would be if you feel like your neck is tightening up, move your neck as you sing. So side to side, you're shaking your head no. Ma 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 ma. I know you couldn't hear all of that. I just sang up and down a scale. But those are generally the ways that I address tension. First, try moving the thing, whatever's tensing, because when it's in motion, it can't get stuck and stay in one spot, or remove it from the equation, as in letting the tongue be out of the mouth. Another tip along these lines of prioritizing relaxation over tone is to understand the difference between vocal effort and strain. Just because you feel like there is some effort and even some sensation in the throat does not mean that you're straining. It's strain if it's painful. It's strain if it feels tight and uncomfortable. It's strain if the resulting tone is starting to get affected in a negative way. Um, so I could sing, I'm trying to think of an example. I'll just use Easy on Me again. We could sing, there ain't no gold. And I feel effort mostly in my belly right now. Or I could sing, there ain't no gold. And I feel a lot of effort in my throat. It's really not sustainable, and the tone is being affected. It's starting to sound a little harsh, a little steely, if you will. Um, but the first example that I gave, there ain't no gold, it still feels like effort. I'm not just going, there ain't no gold. That feels like no effort, but it's not the sound that I want. So there's a difference between vocal effort, effort with your body, and even effort with your throat, and strain. Um, Usually, I would say the steps to follow would be, if you have singing that is going to be maybe a little bit louder, a little bit, uh, yeah, a little bit louder, um, move that effort lower in the body instead of relying on your throat. So the difference between saying, hey, hey, where it's just your throat working, and hey, hey. So easy way to do that is to get your belly working when you make sound. So if you put your hands on your belly or on your ribs and you pretend you're doing maybe an exercise that has you going, huh, huh, or you pretend you're Santa Claus and you go, ho, 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 and you feel your belly pushing out. Okay. That's a quick way to get you used to using your body to help make sound rather than just relying on the muscles within the throat. So then when you go back to your singing, hey, 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 and then you put the lyrics back on, it feels or should feel way, way different than just singing, as I would say, from your neck up or from your shoulders up. Most singers will tell you singing will tire you out, but what's gonna or what we would like to get tired more is actually our abdominals, not our throat. Um, so anyways, step 3, but answering a question or two first. Catalina is asking, do you know any tips for finding an artist whose voice is similar to mine? Because my favorite singers are very hard to imitate. Oh, um, I would say once you do find an artist that you feel like you can fit into the sound of, then look up, say, like a Spotify playlist of similar artists, and hopefully you can find people that way. It could help to think of some identifying qualities of your voice. So, is your voice higher or lower? Is your voice lighter? Is it soft? Is it bright? If you can identify your tone, um, and then search for that, you might have some luck. A fellow voice teacher that I really like on TikTok, actually, I let me find her real quick for you. I think you'll enjoy what she does down the tone and the style of unique artists. Specifically, she kinda does a lot of indie or alternative artists. But let me find her name quickly for you. It's Your Vocal Trainer. Okay, so her name is Adrienne Salmon, and I'm just gonna put her name in the text here. So Adrienne Salmon, also Your Vocal Trainer on TikTok. Okay. And then NGC was saying, I have a sore throat for over more than 2 weeks, and I'm concerned if it's from singing for many hours. Should we stop singing or even warming up if we have a sore throat, and for how long? Yes. If you're experiencing a sore throat, um, go on vocal rest as much as is possible. I know for your work, you might not be able to go on complete vocal rest, but vocal rest means no speaking or singing unless it's absolutely necessary. So obviously, some speaking is necessary, but that's the only way for your voice to have a chance to heal. When we're experiencing a sore throat, usually there is swelling. Swelling is not going to go down very easily if we keep using those same muscles and tissues. Um, so if you haven't been sick in that time at all, then I would first go on vocal rest, but typically the rule of thumb, if you haven't been sick and you're experiencing a sore throat or hoarseness for 2 weeks or longer, as a singer, that's when we call the doctor. That's when we maybe send a message or, give them a call to let them know what's going on and consider getting seen. Um, it's a different story if you were sick and this is the lingering effects of illness that can take a while to recover from, particularly if you had a cough. But yeah, if you've not been sick at all during that time, no allergies, nothing, it's just sore throat, then yes, first step is vocal rest, but consider getting in touch with the doctor as well. You don't want to be continuing to sing and make noise if there's something going on. Okay, so recap. First step, access your full vocal range. Second step, prioritize relaxation over tone. Third step, sing a folk song. And by folk song, I mean really any song that you grew up with or that's well known in your culture, any song that's not tied to a specific artist in your mind. So, since I'm in the United States, I think songs like She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain When She Comes, or uh, Oh, say, can you see? Or Amazing Grace. When we sing those songs, we either have a million versions in our head or really no versions in our head. Whereas if I'm singing We Found Love, I'm only thinking of Rihanna and I'm going to try to mimic her. Um, So think about folk songs, hymns, lullabies, and just notice what you sound like when you're not trying to sound like anybody else. Another great idea would be a song that you wrote yourself. That way, you don't have anyone's version. It's really just your voice and your expression that is in mind. Um, Vocal exercises can also help reveal your sound, but I would go for songs for this specific step. I would go for songs. When you're doing a vocal exercise, it's usually targeting a specific technical skill, and beyond that, sometimes you're imitating your teacher or you're aiming for a specific sound for technical reasons. So an example would be you're doing this dopey, mum 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 because your voice teacher gave it to you to help your larynx relax. Um, that is not the sound that you should always be making, because it's to address a specific technical issue. Um, Okay, that's really it for step 3. I'm on to step 4, borrow and steal, but I have a question first. Any tips for creating vocal melodies when songwriting? So my first question for you would be, are you playing an instrument? Uh, are you proficient on an instrument? What is your theory of musical or sorry, what is your knowledge of music theory? Um, and that'll help me, answer your question a little bit better. But step 4, while you answer, borrow and steal. So you might have heard that good artists borrow, but great artists steal. Singers borrow and steal from one another all the time. And I promise you, as I said before, your favorite artist did not grow up in a vacuum. They just didn't. They learned to sing by imitating other singers, and those singers that they grew up imitating influenced their sound in a very real way. Bruno Mars would not sound exactly like he does if he didn't grow up listening to Michael Jackson. There's just no way. Um, so listen to what your favorite singers do and try to copy them. If you find that their general tone or style feels like an easy fit for your voice, then that person can become what I would call a tonal model for you. So as I was growing up, I kind of stumbled upon these artists who it felt like, yeah, I can imitate their sound really easily. And I didn't think anything of it, until I started teaching and then started getting these questions and thinking about how to help a student make those connections for themselves. Um, I also relied on feedback from other people. So, for example, I have a pretty easy time imitating like a Nora Jones type sound. It comes fairly naturally, or Maggie Rogers type sound. And I know that because I had people close to me who either would compliment my rendition of those songs or say, "Oh, you sound like this person," or so sometimes it is helpful to ask a friend, or if you have a voice teacher or a fellow friend who's a singer, what kinds of songs or genres do you think might be a good fit for me? But you can figure this out yourself just by trial and error, experiment, listen, try to imitate, record yourself even and listen back and see how close you got. Um, so it helps you experiment by fitting into another person's sound. If you were growing up in a vacuum and learning to sing with no musical influences, um, you would only be guided by what feels good and what sounds good kind of objectively to your ear. Um, you might not go for certain sounds. For example, as a singer, I would not I would not naturally go for big, loud, belting sounds because I'm very comfortable singing quietly, medium range, smooth, Nora Jones, as I said before. But it's really great for me to listen to singers belting, making louder sounds, and it gives me the permission and freedom to make the sounds with my voice when I can fit into their sound, when I'm not just in a room, belting my face off. That's harder to do because it doesn't come naturally. So by that same token, the singers that you listen to and are imitating, and as insert name here said, imitate to an extreme level, um, they can give you permission. You're fitting into their sound instead of creating it on your own. It gives you confidence as well. To Caddy's point earlier, when you find a singer whose sound you can emulate, that's a confidence boost because there are a lot of interesting, unique voices out there. And again, I'm plugging Adrienne Salmon, your vocal trainer, because she's doing a really good job of finding these unique voices, sometimes lesser known voices, and pointing out what is cool about them. And they're not all going to be Billboard Top 100 voices. Their audience might be smaller, or their sound might not be as, generic, honestly. Um, but it's really cool when you realize, okay, not everyone has to sound like Ariana Grande. Not everyone has to sound like whoever the person is for you in your mind that's like number 1. Um, Not everyone has to sound like that to be successful, to express themselves. So it's a really cool confidence boost when you start listening to a wider variety of artists, and especially when you find one that feels like an easy fit for your voice. Carl was asking, how do you get the best out of that tonal model? And I would Ooh, Chris Leapy demonstrates how to be extreme. Awesome. Chris Leapy's another great voice teacher, and puts a lot of stuff out on YouTube. So yeah, go check him out too. Um, how to get the most out of a tonal model? Uh, yeah, I would say be as specific as possible when you listen. Um, Listen for not just what they're singing, not just the melody, but how they're singing it, how much airflow, what are their vowels sounding like. Live versions are really helpful for that because you get some visual cues as well. Um, what's happening between the pitches that they sing? Are they just singing, da da da, or are they going, there goes my heart, or there goes my heart? You know, um, small details like that will just take your singing to the next level. Um, so I would say, yeah, listening less casually, listening for those tiny stylistic details, sing along with them, and then point out for yourself where was I matching them well and where was I not. Um, and then last, look up influences of your favorite artists and see if you can hear those influences in your music. Good example would be Lady Gaga. Go to her Wikipedia page, see who she's listed as her musical influences, and think about that next time you're listening to her. You're like, can I hear those artists, traces of those artists in her sound? Okay, back to the question. Guitar, fundamental theory, keys, scales, modes. Um, so I would say this is answering a question. Any tips for creating vocal melodies when songwriting? Um, again, because I'm on TikTok, the people that are coming to mind are also TikTokers. But the person I would recommend you look into, her name is Andrea Stolpe. She's written books on songwriting, and she's a professor of songwriting. So I'm gonna just put her website here in the chat. She has a lot more tips than I could possibly give, but, um, I would say when you're writing vocal lines, uh, I mean, the most important thing is going to be expressing your lyric through that melody, so that it's not just a random melody that sounds cool, but it somehow it's making the lyric and the intention and the emotion clearer for your audience. Also important to have contrast between what you're playing and what you're singing, and contrast between the different sections of your song. I know for a beginning songwriter, it's really easy for everything to just kind of sound the same. Um, I would say if you want more interesting melodies, um, not always staying within the pitches of the chord. So for example, like let's say your chord is a C, it would be very easy to just write, da 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 da, very tonal, very in the key. Interesting or more interesting if you start adding da 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 da. You're playing around with pitches that are not found within that chord, but give a little bit of dissonance, a little bit of color there. Um, I hope that helps, but I can't recommend Andrea Stolpe highly enough. She is on TikTok and has just endless tips as well. But see what books she has and any other free offerings as well. Elizabeth, yay! Thank you for joining when you could. And Kavisha, when I'm singing, I don't feel the vibrations on my chest, so I think I'm not using my chest. But I don't know what's the register I'm in when I'm singing. So Kavisha, you're for most singers, you're gonna feel some vibration on your chest when you're singing low in what we call chest voice. The easiest way to find out if you are using that or not is to just speak first. So my question for you is, can you feel vibration on your chest when you speak? I can feel lots of vibration right now. And then if I stay in that mode and I just go from speaking to singing, I'm still feeling a lot of vibration. Whereas if I go um, then I feel much less vibration in my chest because I'm not using that chest function or chest register. So quick recap answer to your question, your lowest pitches, low to medium pitches, in order to have the best strength and tone quality, should be in chest voice. And just think of chest voice as your speaking voice. Try speaking on pitch. So uh, if your melody is, I'm trying to think of something. Okay, so if you're singing driver's license, instead of I got my driver's license last week, just speak on pitch. I got my driver's license last week. I know that didn't sound pretty. You can make it sound prettier. I got my driver's license last week. But you're starting from a place of speaking. And so as you said, yes, you feel vibration when speaking. If that disappears entirely, yes, it's possible that you are not using that function when you're singing. So speak on pitch first and then see if you can carry that same feeling and intensity over into your singing. Okay, last step, give yourself time to evolve. No great singer was developed in a single day. As you get to know your voice, you're going to start to figure out what feels easy for you, what sounds good. Um, you're gonna develop a style that feels authentic. But you'll only get there if you allow yourself to experiment. Um, if all you listen to is a very specific niche genre, that's probably what you're gonna end up sounding like and doing. Um, is that the best fit for your voice? Maybe, maybe not. Uh, I I can think of some singer friends of mine who love one genre of music, but they really sound best in another genre. And they wouldn't know that if they didn't experiment and sing many different things. Um, I think it's such a fun thing for a developing singer to go through different phases. Like, get obsessed with a singer and copy them, get obsessed with musical theater or country or whatever it is and just like throw yourself into that. It's so much fun. You'll learn a lot not only about your voice but just about music in general. You'll be better informed. Um, so go through phases. That's so fun. Um, and know that voices are flexible and you don't have one sound only. We are under that impression, and by the way, it's almost time for Q&A, so please get your questions in. Um, we have the perception that singers have one sound, one unique signature sound. And that's only true for marketing purposes. It's not physically, anatomically true. Um, the reason that we think Demi Lovato only sounds one way is because she was coached a certain way. Certain things come easy to her. Certain things are unique to her voice. She can do things that other singers don't. And so she's been encouraged to make the sounds that she makes. Her music has been marketed and she's been marketed as this type of artist. She could do other things. She could sing classically, she could sing musical theater and probably does, right? Maybe she's done some musical theater, at least when she was younger. She's not only capable of doing the signature, really loud, high belt Demi Lovato sound. Um, we just think that because that's how she's been developed. It's easier to market a singer when they're a specific thing, right? If you have a label, how are you going to market a singer who does 12 different things? You can't. It has to be marketable. But the reality is singers' voices are flexible. The fact that, you know, there are impressionists or people who are really good at imitating other voices, um, proves that. If you trained in many different styles, so if you trained with a classical teacher doing, arias, operatic things, if you trained with a pop singer, if you trained with an R&B singer, um, you would be able to work in those styles. And maybe one style would feel more comfortable and natural for you, but there's nothing physically that would limit you from doing a wide variety of styles. So please don't put yourself in a box at the very start. Um, maybe you're like, I've always loved R&B. I want to sing R&B. Maybe you're going to end up doing R&B. That's great. But don't limit yourself to only listening to R&B for the rest of your life. Experiment, try to imitate other singers. You will be a more well-rounded artist as a result. Okay, Q&A time. I'm surprised we got through that. That was good. That was good. Okay, Dom is asking, can you work on mixed voice with a unique vocal sound? Of course. Of course. So, working on mixed or middle voice is just a matter, again, of sliding between your chest and your head voice. The exercise we gave earlier for that is that tongue out ma thing. um, and then doing mix friendly exercises. My favorites would be one, 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 one. But you might benefit from a kind of brattier sound, na 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 na, or even a dopier sound, boop 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 boop. Try out these different sounds and syllables. But yeah, absolutely. That really doesn't have anything to do with your overall tone quality or sound. You're still just finding a balance or a blend of head and chest function and resonance in the middle. How can I sound like Ariana Grande if I don't have a high voice? Identify what about her sound is distinct from the high range that she sings in. I would say one of the things that's kind of distinct about her sound is she uses a lot of airflow. So think about songs also where it isn't sitting too high. Um, think about like the duet she did with The Weeknd, the Save Your Tears. Da, 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 da. I don't know the words, but it's the duet version of Save Your Tears. So you can emulate her sound, and that has nothing to do with singing high. It has to do with airflow and kind of a dark, rich vowel thing going on. Um, that's where my mind goes, is identify what unique qualities her voice has that you want to emulate that are distinct from the range she's singing in. Kavisha, I feel like I'm in the middle of head and chest voice. Do I need to access chest voice separately? It would benefit you to access chest voice separately. Yes. Um, when I work with singers who are in a mix the whole time, that might sound like, e, 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 and they're never getting into e, like a full chest voice sound. Um, it's limiting for your range because your lowest pitches, Kavisha, are going to be accessed in chest voice. You can't take that lighter sound as low as your voice really can go. So I would say that's one reason. Another reason is just for strength. Uh, if I want to be belting and singing something that sounds chesty, I'm not going to get there if the only sound I rely on is that lighter sound. Um, so yes, I would isolate chest voice. For higher voices, you can take that sound up to G4. So exercises where you're going, for example, go, 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 or hey, things like that. You can take that up about there safely. Um, Nick, would you say voices tend to be more free after vigorous exercise, such as a gym workout or sport, or does that depend on each individual? For example, I have a condition that causes physical tightness on my left side, so vigorous exercise like the gym to alleviate tightness is key in order for me to be relaxed before singing. That's wonderful that you identified that for yourself. It does depend on the singer. I actually noticed this for myself. I noticed after I had done a cardio workout specifically, my voice felt so much stronger later in the day. This was at a time when I was doing cardio workouts like every single day. And then I had rehearsal on Tuesday nights for 3 hours for a choir that I was singing in. And I started that workout routine after I had started the choir. So I knew what my voice felt like and sounded like normally. And then I noticed one day in rehearsal, I was like, I feel like Superman right now. I feel like my breath support and everything just feels better. What is going on? And then I made the connection. Maybe someone else helped me make the connection. I can't remember, that I had started working out, and I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." I brought it up to one of my voice teachers, um, and he's older, and he said, for younger people, that seems to be the case, that working out prior to singing helps you. He said, for me, because he's, I think, maybe in his 50s, which isn't that old, but he said, um, uh, I I just get too tired. So the workout doesn't energize me. The workout uses my energy, and then I don't have enough energy later for singing. So depends on the person, but I think it's wonderful that you've found you've found that correlation for yourself. Um, Hi Camille, I really love singing, but I don't do my singing warm-ups every day. Like I would skip a lot of days. My high pitch is damaged, I think, because I can't sing high like I used to. Um, what should I do to be consistent? So I think you probably already know the answer for consistency. It's helpful to have a habit that you can do every day. If it's 5 minutes, if it's singing in the shower as you're getting ready for the day, um, if you commute to work, singing in the car, but some other routine in your life that already exists. So if you are a morning showerer or if you commute to work, then pairing the habit of warming up during that time, it'll be so much easier to stick with. the habit of singing every day is not going to be easy to stick with if it's something entirely new that you're inserting into your schedule, um, or that you're putting into your schedule when you feel like it or when you have time. Less likely to happen. So, particularly with exercising your full vocal range, getting those high notes feeling good again. Um, Use the sounds that are easiest and most gentle for you. For me, I really love the NG sound. So, for example, if I were you, I'd be um, I would be singing each day, and I would just kind of be going up to the point where my voice wants to go, and then I would see if I can stretch past it a little bit, and then I would back off again. Um, but that's that's my best advice. Have a routine that's short enough for you to do, or that you just have in mind that you can do on your own without having to pull out your phone or, another device. Um, Kavisha, can you recommend one exercise to develop head voice? Oohs are going to be your best friend for developing head voice. So I would say, um, my routine is vocalizing on an ooh to the point. So, for example, ooh, ooh, to the point where that ooh starts to feel not great. I'll start to modify the vowel a little bit, and then eventually I'll switch to an NG. And I'll just take that up as high as I'm comfortable with, or when just air comes out, then I know, okay, I've reached my limit for the day. And then I'll come back down. Okay, Tolly was asking, I love Sia and Rihanna and Anne Marie, but trying to sing their songs has damaged my voice or my understanding of my voice. I still haven't recovered from it. Something to do with the muscle aspect. I also have a misaligned TMJ. My mouth doesn't open and close well. I'm sorry. So Sia and Rihanna, I'm not familiar with Anne Marie, but Sia and Rihanna both have kind of heavier voices, or at least they use them in quite a heavy way. So it's possible that in imitating their sounds, you were pushing yourself a little bit, to the point of strain or pain. Particularly Sia, I am not a person to bash another singer or their technique ever, but it sounds to me, that the cracking and the kind of roughness that she sings with, it sounds to me like that's hard to do, and I would certainly have a very hard time imitating that sound too. Um, so Tolly, for you, I think, as much as we've talked about imitation and how helpful that is, perhaps finding some singers who sing in a lighter or softer way might feel soothing for your voice. And maybe even just doing exercises that get your voice functioning in a nice, healthy, easy way. And getting used to that sort of uh approaching them as 2 separate things. The style component, which we'll maybe take a little break from, and then just the easy voice function component. Probably the exercise that most voice teachers would recommend for you would be singing through a straw. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a great way to help the voice, especially if it is a little bit swollen, and maybe used to coming together in a way that was too much effort. So the way you would do that if you haven't, and this does not require your mouth to open and close because you're just staying with this straw in your mouth for a while. So you would start with just a regular sized drinking straw. You would submerge it about halfway in water. So, fill up a cup halfway with water, and then you're blowing into that cup of water. See that you are getting bubbles and sound at the same time. And that's your confirmation that you're doing it correctly. You are moving air through that straw and making sound. Um, so I would maybe spend some time, um, not imitating those singers that you've felt were too much for you, but, um, yeah, spending a little bit more time just making sound throughout your range. And the nice thing about the straw is it helps your vocal folds line up properly as well. So you don't have to worry about that. It's kind of taking care of things for you. Okay, so I need to let you all go. Um, the next two lessons, just to give you a quick preview, next two lessons are going to be intonation practice focused. So the first one will be a pitch matching focus. The second one will be a major scale and interval focus. So if that's something you haven't worked on slash want to work on, join me for that. As always, all of these live lessons will be up on the channel later. So if you missed any part of it, it'll be up and you can watch it in its entirety. The only thing missing would be interaction. Um, Very last question, the Joker: is it compulsory for me to sing high warm ups daily? My answer for you is yes. If you're working on your head voice and want to get that feeling good again, you should be at least going up into your comfortable head voice range every day. That's a yes from me. All right. Thank you for being here. See ya.